Only 6 men have played British secret agent James Bond on screen so far. But who is the best ever? Here's our ranking. 6. George Lazenby. While we hold a special fondness for George Lazenby, his single Bond film places him last by default. Critics initially frowned upon the Australian model's portrayal of 007, but with time, his performance in On Her Majesty's Secret Service is now celebrated as one of the series' highlights. Certainly, Lazenby's limited acting background may have raised a Roger Moore-sized eyebrow initially, and there are moments of woodenness in his performance. However, his vulnerable portrayal of the character remains a delight to watch even after all these years. 5. Roger Moore. The late Sir Roger Moore holds the record for playing Bond the most times. Moore's Bond is characterized by a tongue-in-cheek approach, making him the perfect choice for those seeking entertaining spy adventures. He may have hung around a little too long into the 1980s, but it's impossible not to fall in love with his suave agent. 4. Daniel Craig. Fans initially expressed outrage when a blonde actor was cast as the next Bond in the early 2000s. However, any doubts were swiftly dispelled with the release of the outstanding Casino Royale. Daniel Craig has now held the role longer than any other actor in terms of years. While Moore may have leaned towards the silly end of the spectrum, some argue that Craig's tenure has swung too far towards gritty realism. Aside from one duffer, Quantum of Solace, Craig's films have been intelligent and action-packed, even if Craig himself appears to be fed up with the role at times. 3. Timothy Dalton. Similar to Lazenby before him, Timothy Dalton is often overlooked, possibly due to his involvement in only 2 films, despite his desire to do more, hindered by delays in the early 90s. Upon revisiting his 2 late 1980s films, it becomes apparent that Timothy Dalton achieved a perfect blend of enjoyable 80s Bond and a preview of what Daniel Craig would bring 2 decades later. Dalton's Bond is fierce, but still with a little glint in his eye. Underrated. 2. Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan marked the conclusion of the original Bond timeline before the reboot with Craig. Unfortunately, Brosnan's 4th and final film, Die Another Day, is often considered a subpar entry, possibly impacting his legacy as Bond. However, Brosnan always shines as a perfect mix of cheeky, dangerous, and charming, and he deserves more recognition. 1. Sean Connery. They often say the original is the best, and this holds true for the late Sir Sean Connery. While Diamonds Are Forever may be a bit questionable, and his return as Bond in the unofficial Never Say Never Again was unusual, no one has surpassed Sean Connery in the role. His Bond is the pinnacle when it comes to pure coolness, and everyone has tried to emulate him ever since. Will he ever be bettered?